Top 5 Best presents 18-year-old starts having seizure on train. Gets help from complete stranger who later shares whole story. Before we begin, do us a favor by clicking that like button and subscribe to our channel for more real-life stories every day. Social media has changed the way we live our lives, from connecting us with long-lost friends, helping bring families closer together, and of course, sharing memes. But even with all the potential to bring people closer, we far too often find negativity clogging up our newsfeed. If something bad is happening, social media will have it covered. Today, we're going to be hearing a rare story of a heroic civilian whose story went viral earlier this year. Erin Brooke is a freelance writer and blogger from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. One day, she was riding the local subway when she was confronted with an opportunity to make a difference in the life of a fellow passenger. Erin took to Twitter on April 4th, 2019, to share an incredible story that happened the night before. At around 10 o'clock at night, she had been riding the subway with several other passengers when one particular passenger caught her attention. The girl sitting across from her had started speaking, but she couldn't hear her over the earbuds she had in. After removing them, she heard the girl say, "Are you getting off soon?" Evelyn replied that she was. Then she noticed that the girl was holding out a piece of laminated paper. What it said, she'll never forget. In the seat across from Erin sat a young woman gripping a piece of laminated paper. On it were the words, "My seizure plan." Erin was stunned and asked the woman if she was having a seizure. She replied that she wasn't, but she was about to. Then she put all her trust in Erin, asking her to, quote, "Can you sit with me until your stop?" Erin's stop was only 3 stops away, and she asked what the girl would do if she got off, to which she responded that she didn't want to be a bother and she would ask someone else, including another passenger. As they spoke, the young girl folded her scarf and put it by her head, and then, without warning, she began to seize. Having read the seizure plan, Erin began to time the seizure. It lasted for 3 minutes, and Erin stayed by the girl's side as her stop came and went. The girl continued to assure Erin that she could leave at any time and insisted that she hated inconveniencing people. But Erin wouldn't be so easily deterred, and she stuck by the young girl's side. She had several more short seizures before Erin was able to help her off at the correct stop. Along the way, the two women talked, and Erin learned even more about her condition. The young girl was only 18 years old, and she experiences seizures like this 1 to 4 times a day, with each episode lasting anywhere from 10 to 60 minutes. That means she could be anywhere at any time when an episode strikes. Once the two of them had left the train, they took a seat at the subway station, where she once more placed the scarf behind her head and began to seize. The young girl woke exhausted and desperate to go home, but nonetheless, she insisted that she didn't want to be a burden on anyone. But Erin wasn't going anywhere. Writing about the encounter later on, she said, quote, "I'm a big sister and a woman in the world. I'm either sitting with her until she's completely ready to get up and walk away on her own, or we're gonna move together in shifts until she gets to her front door." She continues, "There's no way I'm leaving an 18-year-old on a subway platform alone." As they continued toward the young lady's condo, they kept talking and even more details came out. She suffered from epilepsy, and that was easily triggered by loud noises and even fluorescent lights. But despite it, she still went to the gym several times a week and entrusted her safety to the sheet of laminated paper that contained her seizure plan. This routine of public seizures and relying on kind strangers had become a way of life for her. There was little that anyone can do for her other than keep her safe. Even calling paramedics would only cause her bigger issues, as Erin explained she'd only be, quote, burdened with loud noises and fluorescent lights and maybe an ambulance trip further from her destination and a hospital bill and who knows what else, when she just needs to go home. Luckily for her, Erin was nearby. Erin would later post about the situation on Twitter and her blog. She sees the events of that day as symptomatic of a larger problem in society, saying, quote, "It's not a story about me being a good person. It's not a story about how brave she is, though she clearly is. It's a story about human needs, through the lens of a disability, and how accessibility is not the same as acceptance or community care." She continues to add, "Accommodation is the bare minimum. If I sat with her until my stop and then left, that's what accommodation looks like." Though Erin had her own reasons for sharing the story, it served to not only encourage but educate the millions who have heard it. One commenter said, quote, "As a nurse, I'd like to thank you for the amount of education unintentionally woven into this thread. You did it right, trusting her, trusting the paper, and not calling EMS, getting her home. Thank you. And thank you for sharing. #educate. And another adding, "Damn, you Erin. I'm a full-grown man and should not be wetting my keyboard with tears. The scarf got me. Thanks for sharing." In the end, Erin was able to make a positive impact in the life of a stranger, and quite possibly saved her from a far worse outcome had no one been there to help. Ultimately, Erin was able to turn to the laminated seizure plan for guidance, and those affected by seizure disorders are encouraged to take heed of this story and consider carrying their own custom seizure plan. Thank you for watching. Tap one of the videos on the screen for another amazing story.